Hey, it's Matt Pinfield. This is KLOS New and Approved, and I've got the members of Joyous Wolf with me, and I'm really excited to have them here right now. It's Nick Reese and Blake Allard, the singer and guitarist of the band. Guys, welcome to the show. So good to have you on.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
You know, it's funny because, I feel like, well, you're on all the time anyway because we play you every week. And you've already gone to number one with your latest single, Fearless, on the countdown, on New and Approved Countdown, which is great. So, but it's really good to finally get to talk to you. You know, I haven't seen you since you did the show at the Whiskey. No, it wasn't the Whiskey. It was the Viper Room. Viper Room, it was a great show. I got to introduce you guys that night. Killer turnout. Show was sold out. And, you guys rock the place. And then, I stayed in touch with you, but you guys hit the road and did a tour. Tell me about that tour, because you were like kind of heading out like in other places in the country. How did it go this time around? Because I know it's not your first tour out there.
It was our first headlining run, and it was just awesome that anyone showed up at all in the places that we went. We had some really awesome shows, and then you had some, some okay ones, very humbling ones, yeah. But we had some really good ones. We had some shows in Michigan that were really awesome, and just all around the country. We got to see just kind of like the fruits of our labor, from the last 4 years of touring, essentially. So it was pretty cool.
Now, you've done quite a few tours. I know you were at Buck Cherry at one point. Tell me about some of the other tours that you guys had done before.
We did a tour with Slash and Myles Kennedy in the upper part of the United States and in Canada, and that was, probably still one of the greatest tours ever. Also, opening up for Deep Purple was a huge honor at that point.
That must have been great, hearing those guys do Highway Star every night and just rocking out to some of those unbelievable classics.
Every night. Shout out to everybody in that band. They're the nicest people, and they treated us like family and took us under their wing, and we were with them for like 30 shows, so it was a long haul, and they were still probably just the nicest people I think I've ever met that have been in a high profile band like that.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, guys. When you go on a road with legends like Deep Purple, and they took you under your wings, tell me some of the things that they talked to you about as your new band. What was some of the advice those guys had given you?
Oh man, I thought it was going to be one of those things where you'd have to keep your head down in the hallway and don't talk to them. But they were coming up to us after shows, and they invited us to their dressing room to hang out and drink after the show, which is still hanging out with Ian Pace and Steve Morris was beyond my understanding at the point where we got to hang out and drink with them. And I don't know, it was a way more personal experience with them than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it was Ian Gillan came down on my birthday, and that's still one of my greatest memories I think I'll ever have, is just being able to talk with him, talking about Elvis, and him telling me stories about getting drunk with Leslie West and stuff. It was and he also told me to lay off the substances, which was a much heard bit of advice. So they were just so cool to us, honestly.
Yeah, and you must have loved that too, Nick, because you're, I know that because of the kind of voice that you have, which is got a very, modern but classic. It's got, that edge that a lot of the great classic singers have. Must have been really cool to get that kind of a voice from Ian Gillan, from, who's been with Deep Purple and Black Sabbath and all these great people over the years, right?
Yeah, I actually did tell him that. I told him my favorite version of the song Black Sabbath was his from this bootleg. And he looked at me no one had ever said that to him before. But I just love the way he does the laugh and stuff in that. But no, he's on the Mount Rushmore. He really is one of the icons of rock music. So it was really awesome sharing the stage with him, and obviously with Myles Kennedy, and more recently we were with our guys in Dirty Honey, and that was fantastic.
We forgot to mention that too. Oh my God, that couldn't have been a more fun, cool experience, us two bands touring at that time. We just cut our album, and as soon as it was done, it's okay, you're going on a tour now, and it was with Dirty Honey, so it could have been better.
Yeah, another great band from Los Angeles. So it was just a good time of guys supporting each other out there that love rock. Let's go back to your beginnings. Now, I know, Nick, that you've known one of the band members. You guys were you in 6th grade together?
We were in middle school together.
Tell
Yeah,
me about that.
Rob, the drummer, and we met on our studio orientation day in 6th grade at Hughes Middle School over in Tustin, California, where we live. And yeah, ever since then, he's never been able to be rid of me. So I guess that's just how it is.
What, do you remember those conversations? Were you guys both, by 6th grade, you were into music, so did you guys find out that was there any conversations about rock and roll?
Yeah, we definitely did. We were already critics because there was like the middle school battle of the bands happening at lunch, and as awesome as that probably sounded, and we were just sitting there being like, terrible, ruining our lunch, already prissy, catty.
Yeah. Well, you're like, hey, I could do this. I think we should do this. You know what I mean? Which is a cool thing.
That's essentially what happened. Honestly, we were just we could do better than that.
Yeah.
So.
And then look at you guys now, which is great. I'm so glad you guys are still in a band together after 6th grade. I want to talk about how you and Blake met. Blake, talk to me about that, because did you guys meet at Guitar Center and start jamming? Tell me about that, or a guitar shop?
No, it was Guitar Center. So it's funny enough that Nick knew our drummer Robert since 6th grade, but they never actually played music together. It wasn't until I met Nick that he called Robert to start a band with us. And so if you've ever been to a Guitar Center, you know how incredibly noisy they can get with everybody playing too loud and trying to play all this stuff to impress the person next to them. So I was getting my guitar worked on, and I was like, I don't want any part of this. I'm going to go in like the quiet acoustic room and just like hang out until my guitar's done being worked on. And I was trying to play this guitar while I was waiting. It was really out of tune. Nick, unbeknownst to myself, was in there, and he let me borrow his tuner, which was very nice. And so he started talking to me about his band, and I was like, oh God, here we go. Like some guy in Guitar Center talking to me about his band. It's like, but he said he was a singer, and I've always been looking for a singer to play with. And he showed me his material, and I was like, wow, like you have a really good voice. I was used to people with not really good voices. So I was like, can I play guitar for you? And he was like, I've already got guitar players, but if anything changes, I'll let you know. And his band didn't end up working out. So then he called me, and that's kind of how it all started.
That's it. I called Robert first, and then I said, if Rob says yes, because he was the best drummer I knew. And, if your drummer sucks, then your band sucks, in my opinion. So
that is true, man. If that rhythm section is not on point, that makes it.
Better. It's got to be better than the lead section, even.
Yeah, that was the thing. Like I remember the moment I Rob said yes. He was like, "Do you need a bass player?" And a couple of hurdles later, Greg and him had just been jamming together for like years at that point, and had not been in any bands together really. So it was all this kind of this. It happened the way it happened, and when we all kind of came together as a quartet, that's when things just kind of started to develop. And the next thing we knew, we're talking to you right now. So
cool. Which is so great. Oh, go ahead. What were you gonna say, Blake?
Oh, sorry. I was just saying it's kind of crazy when we think of how naturally things formed and how random a lot of the things seem. Where like we go from jamming for the first time to like playing our first ever out of state show, which was a festival. And just all these snowball effects that happen that kind of make us turn to each other after a while. And it's like, are we really still did this really happen the way that it happened? It's very confusing.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Joyous Wolf is a great name, but it was like at the 11th hour or maybe the 12th hour that you guys came up with the name. Were you like literally ready to go on stage at a show or something close to that?
It was like 2 days before, and we were sitting at this restaurant chain called The Hat. We were sitting in a booth, and I'll never forget it. It's like we always have to tell, and we do these interviews and we tell these stories all the time, but this is the one I never get tired of talking about just because how stupid it is. Because we were sitting there, and we are so not creative, I guess, that we couldn't come up with a name ourselves. So we had the bandnamegenerator.com app open, and we were just clicking randomize, and it was all these awful names like Global Death and Intense Resentment and like horrible names. And then one was like Joyous Wolves, and then we just cut the wolves, and that was it.
To Wolf, and it worked out well.
And then And then 5 years happened, 6 years, and we're like, well, we're kind of stuck.
Yeah, we were on the same poster as like Tool, and we're like, oh, yeah, that's it. All right, cool.
Absolutely understand that. Talk to me about, Mother Rebel was the first song that KLOS really got behind and was playing, and it was really happening for you guys everywhere. But talk to me about how you ended up getting signed to Roadrunner and how they discovered you.
We played a live show, and we played a live festival in Aftershock Festival,
Sacramento.
That was the second or third festival we'd ever played. I think it was on one of our first tours.
It was the first run, the end of the first run we did, underneath the 5 freeway.
yeah. So we stood up and we're like playing at 1, which is like we're so grateful for that too.
Yeah.
But like we get on stage and like there's a freeway above us, and we're like, what is the setup right now?
Yeah.
But it was still to this day one of my favorite shows. And we talked to the A&R guy that was watching us. Was very passionate about the band, and we've been with them ever since. But it all started from a live show.
Yeah,
I think that's great. And I mean the things that have been played and supported here at KLOS, like obviously, most recently Fearless. I mean, a lot of your stuff has been played, but from Place and Time, the first album, from that all the way up, it's just great. Let's talk about the decision to cover Mississippi Queen, because you do such a great version of that. The night that you guys were at the Viper Room, you encored with it. It was just, you do such a stellar version of that song. It's one of those classics that you got to do well. It's one of those things you got to do well, right? Or
we definitely know that, which is why like every time we know we're gonna play it, okay, we got to do it right. I guess.
To give credit where credit is due. I mean, it was a lot harder for them. They were way more like meticulous about like the details. They were listening to every live version that Mountain never did. And they were deconstructing it when we were recording it, and it was just me like, okay, I'm just gonna go and hope that it's okay. Whatever I bring to it is okay. It was really cool. I mean, it was really organic. I mean, it was a song that we had all listened to like together. When we first started as a band, we had like this Spotify playlist where we like put all of our favorite songs, and one of the songs that he put in there was that song, and I guess that one just kind of stayed in the ethos. And when it came time, we're like, hey, you want to do a cover? Like, I guess if we're going to do one, it should be one that doesn't get enough shine. I think that's why we chose Mississippi Queen.
Yeah, totally.
Because it really is a classic, and it's one of those things, it doesn't get the remembrance it deserves, but it was such an important song in the history of rock and in rock radio. I mean, it was, I remember the first time when I was a little kid, the first time I heard it was on a TV commercial for the New York rock station, WPLJ, which has the same logo as the classic KLOS logo. It was like a sister station then. And I just remember the commercial and hearing that intro with that guitar and that cowbell, and I went, what is this? And I'm a young kid. And then I got the record, the mountain climbing album. But I think you guys do a great version of it. So I just tell you that, which is cool. Now, Fearless is such a great song, and Fearless has gone to #1, and it has no sign of going away. It's been doing so well on the new and approved countdown, and people just love it here.
Yeah, seriously, we can't thank you and everybody at KLOS enough, because like this all happened organically, thank God. But just like how hard it is to actually make that happen, like every musician knows how hard that is to make happen. So we don't for a second ever take that for granted. So yeah, thank you from all of us.
And you guys over at KLOS, shout out to Cunningham. Ever since KLOS gets our first real show in front of a real audience, like a real big audience, and way back with Heidi and Frank, and that was at their big birthday bash fest, and that was the beginning of a lot of things for us. And then get you guys at the station and everything getting behind us, it's been there's a reason why a lot of other stations picked us up. So we love you guys. So thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, Keith Cunningham's amazing. He's a great leader over here, man. He really is, and a visionary. And then you got like I said, everybody else: Marcy, Sluggo, Kevin. Everybody that's on the crew here, and Heidi and Frank, and so it's like, it's just. But we're really happy for you. Tell me about writing the song Fearless. Give me a little background on that one.
This was like one of the most fun songs we've ever written by far. I remember we were in the practice space, and it was a lull between either a break or songs we were doing. And Rob was just playing this beat, and I was like, that's a really cool beat. And then I played like 4 stupid, simple chords over it that actually ended up being kind of cool. and it was written in probably like 10 minutes for the majority of it. And then we took this one riff that we had jammed from like during COVID, the beginning of COVID, like a year or two ago now, and we combined them. So it couldn't have been more of an organic process.
That chorus I had in my head for like 3 different things that never happened. You know, we do that all the time. I'm constant, like, we'll start something and then it doesn't work out, but I had that chorus forever. And when we were in the very last couple of days of our album sessions, it was like, well, we just kind of threw it all together. You know, that was the one that we really didn't rehearse a lot. And it just kind of happened. And it was a really like synergistic moment, honestly, like a really cool, easy, fun, like last minute addition to the record. It was awesome.
Which turned out great and ended up being the first single from that forthcoming album that'll be out in sometime soon this year. I've been lucky enough, I know that, you guys let me listen to it and to a lot of tracks, and the record's fantastic. I mean, I was, I love to listen to music. I love to listen to KLOS, and I love to listen to, like playlists or albums that are sent to me, whatever, on the treadmill. You know what I mean? I mean, or in the gym. I mean, just because I can, really get into it. I think a lot of people will do that too. And whatever that way is that they can be one with a record. And man, I heard these new songs on your record. Like Get Myself Right, In the Shadow. There's all these great songs on there. So there's a really dark song I like called Storm. There's so many good songs, and I'm just letting people know in advance, not that they'll be unbelievably pleasantly surprised when they hear this record because it's so strong. And I just want to tell you guys how psyched I am for you and how proud I am of you guys for because this second full-length album is going to it's going to raise a lot of people. It's going to blow people's minds, I think. It's some great stuff on there.
That means a lot coming from you, man. Thank you so much.
Seriously, thank you, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of those albums. I needed that, man. I needed that for the energy that I needed to rock on the treadmill and in the gym. And it's like, that's really what the thing that gets a lot of people motivated to exercise. And as I said, I've said many times, since I gave up alcohol and I'm a sober guy, I exercise, to deal with all the other anxiety, frustrations, and just get out that nervous energy everybody has. And what makes it the best is the music. That's what makes it the best. It's rock and roll.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But I'm excited about this record. Guys, you worked with Jay Rustin again. Great producer. Jay, of course, has worked with...
The best producer.
Yeah, he is the best producer.
Yeah, I mean, Jay has worked with, Anthrax, Stone Sour, Avatar, a bunch of good people, and such a great guy. And, I remember when he was telling me how excited he was about the record. I ran into him over at the Sunset Marquee. We were getting ready to shoot a TV show, and I saw him, and I'm like, hey, talk to me. What's going on with Joyous Wolf? And he goes, oh, wait till you hear this record. So, I mean, he was right. Tell me about Jay, that relationship with your producer, because he's been a big part of working with you guys from the beginning, right?
He's pretty much changed everything that we thought we might not be able to do. He's like, no, we can do that. That's what's awesome about him. He's become like the 5th member of the band at this point, and he's extremely supportive. He'd drive all the way down to Orange County where we live all the time, and while we were writing whatever, and come and sit and say, no, that sucks, that's good, and he's the nicest person, and he's just knows how to work with us. I don't know. It's just, I don't think there could have been a better matchup than that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, he gets such a great sound out of the band. They're really, the textures, the sound are so good, so powerful in your face, and he's got your voice. It lays so well in the music, and it's right there. It's ever present, which I think is great. Guys, before we wrap, though, I want you to tell me, when you're a young band and you're touring, you were talking about the venue. Some shows are good, some shows are bad. Sometimes you go to a show, it's like trial by fire. It's like that kind of, it's the admission, it's the price of admission into being a rock band. And I think that's what's the cool thing. It just builds so much character. You'll do those shows where there's, 5 people and the people that work in the club there sometimes. Maybe it's only the people who work in the club in some of those cities. You've heard it for even the biggest bands in the world. That's just part of that growing experience and growing pains. But what was one of the craziest things that's happened to you guys? good or bad, on the road during one of your tours? I mean, was your van always good? Did you talk to me about that? Give us a story, a road story.
I can tell the moose story.
Yeah, that's a good story.
Okay,
yeah.
so before we had a driver and we still had our band that we were doing, I think we were somewhere in Canada or in that region.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I was driving at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and there was this bend in the back roads. And as soon as I got around the bend, there was like the most giant moose I've ever seen in my entire life. He was taking up a full 2-lane highway.
This moose.
So, yeah. So it was in the smack dab middle. So I had to go into oncoming traffic just to get around him, because the whole time I'm honking, he didn't move. So I'm like trying to veer this like E350 van with a giant trailer behind it all around this animal. And as soon as I like get past it, like, oh, then it starts to move. But I basically yelled. Well, everyone was sleeping, and I kind of woke everybody up. And our TM was sleeping next to me, and he was like, because I just yelled, he was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, we almost just died, but I'm glad you didn't see it, because you didn't have to get stressed out about it."
He swerved so hard that I was laying on the floor in the back of the van, and when he tailed it so hard that I flew up from my laying position and like slapped against the side of the van. And our drummer's bench that he was laying on, like one of the legs was loose, and it would constantly like tip up. So we both just like went up and down real fast.
Yeah. That's amazing, because that's the crazy things that happen. Even when you get in a tour bus, as you know, like, and you eventually go overseas, and you're going through the Swiss Alps. That's fun to try. If you're on the top bunk, it's not fun, because I was on tour with a band, right? I was doing a run with a band, and that I had signed at Columbia back then, and we did England, and then we did Belgium and Amsterdam and Germany and Italy, and then we were going through the Swiss Alps. And in the middle of the night, all of a sudden, I just fly out of my bunk, guys, and I'm laying on the floor in the middle of with a walkway like this. I'm like, what just happened? So I totally get that, man, because and I can only imagine. I'm just so glad you're okay. Because the moose would have been fine. He would have got it might have ruffled his fur. But your equipment was all right. Like it kept the hitch. It was all right.
Yeah, everything was good. Everything was good. Surprisingly,
it was just crazy though, because of I don't think most people pay attention to how tall a moose is. We're driving a van, which was substantially above the ground. That thing was eye level. So had I hit it, it would have crashed through our windshield and just started eating our tour manager as he's sleeping.
Yeah, I know. Oh my God.
What a headline would be: Orange County band death by moose.
Yeah.
That'd be amazing. I'm just glad you guys got out of that okay. Oh, man. Well, listen, guys, I just want to thank you, by the way, for doing the show. We're excited for the record coming out. I know the release date is still being decided on, but I know that all your fans in Southern California, people that are streaming all over, are really looking forward to this record, and I can tell everybody right now that they will not be disappointed. It is a really strong record.
And something I want to add, we're actually going to be at the Vipe Room again, be our gig with our boys of Limbo, and a special guest on the 26th, right? Yeah.
January
this month, 26th, at the Vipe Room. Come and see us. It'll be great. It'll be an awesome time. Let's do it like we did the last time.
Absolutely. I'll see you guys there. I look forward to it.
Awesome, yeah, man. It'll be a good time again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. KLS will be in the house. KLOS. Did I just say KLS? That's like a news station in another part of the country. It's KLOS. Guys, I just want to say thanks so much for joining me today. It's great to see you. I'm glad you guys made it safe from this most recent tour and had a great time out there. And congratulations on making a really strong album. And we're excited when everybody else gets to hear it as well. Okay, so we'll see you on the 26th. All right, guys?
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much,
Matt. Thanks so much.
So good to see you guys. So great to have Nick Reese and Blake Allard from the band Joyous Wolf. Don't forget, January 26th, they will be at the Vipe Room. The new album is coming soon. Thanks so much for joining us. You've been watching KLOS New and Approved. I'm Matt Pinfield. We'll see you next time.